Here's what the apple industry doesn't want you to know. Most of the apples you're buying are bred for profit, not flavor. While you've been trusting the grocery store's shiny produce section, some truly questionable varieties have been taking up valuable real estate in your fruit bowl. We're talking apples bred for appearance over taste, varieties that turn mealy within days, and so-called classics that survive purely on name recognition and childhood nostalgia. The red delicious apple, once America's sweetheart, has been systematically bred into mediocrity for decades, prioritizing that perfect Instagram red color over anything resembling actual deliciousness. So let's talk about the 8 apple varieties that range from absolute disappointments to legitimately incredible, and rank them worst to best. Because life's too short to waste money on mealy, flavorless fruit that's all looks and no substance. Smash that subscribe button because we're about to save you from some seriously disappointing produce decisions. Number 8. Red Delicious, discovered in 1880 by Jesse Hyatt in Iowa. The Red Delicious was once America's defining apple. But since the 1980s, this variety has been systematically bred for appearance over flavor, and the results are catastrophic. What you actually get is thick, tough maroon skin and a tall, conical shape that looks perfect but tastes like sweetened cardboard. The texture is mealy, mushy, and grainy. The flesh literally resists your bite before turning to sawdust in your mouth. The taste is bland to the point of offensive, generic, overly sweet, with a bitter peel that has a metallic aftertaste. At $1.26 per pound, you're paying rock-bottom prices for rock-bottom quality. The customer reviews are brutal. Makes me regret having taste buds. Worst apple ever. Sawdust mixed with a little sugar. Food editors call it a mouthful of roughage. Here's the kicker. Original Red Delicious from the 60s was actually crisp and juicy, but selective breeding destroyed it. Washington orchards are now ripping out Red Delicious trees to plant better varieties. This apple exists because grocery chains prioritize shelf life and visual appeal over flavor. They're banking on you grabbing the prettiest apple without tasting it first. Bottom line, when the best thing anyone can say is, well, it's red, you've created a monument to style over substance. You're paying for what one reviewer called lunchbox remnants, the apple nobody actually wants to eat. Number 7, Golden Delicious. Discovered by farmer Anderson Mullins in West Virginia in 1912, the Golden Delicious became the state fruit. Not related to Red Delicious despite the name, this yellow gold beauty promised versatility. Instead, it became the poster child for looks aren't everything. The texture is mealy, soft, and completely lacks crispness. The taste is bland, subtle, mild, sweet without any complexity or tartness to make it interesting. Within days, it becomes mushier, especially after the all-too-common year in cold storage that strips away whatever flavor it had. Around $1.50 to $1.75 per pound for a mediocre experience. Reviewers call it the most mealy of the bunch, best for baking or cooking. Fresh from farm stands, they're supposedly decent, but grocery store versions are described as flavorless mush. Golden Delicious survives because bakers need soft apples that break down into smooth fillings. It's been used as a parent variety for better apples, Gala, Pink Lady, Cosmic Crisp. But grocery stores stock it because it's cheap and people recognize the name, not because anyone's excited to eat one. This is the apple equivalent of a demure Southern Belle. Pretty to look at, mild-mannered, and utterly forgettable. When your best quality is turning into acceptable pie filling, you're not winning any fresh eating competitions. Number 6, Macintosh, discovered in Ontario, Canada in Nausea. The early 1800s, the Macintosh has been a favorite for over 200 years. It's famous for the snap of the skin when you bite into it, that satisfying pop that promises a juicy experience. Too bad everything out of that snap is downhill. The texture starts crisp in September but becomes soft and grainy and mealy within weeks. Tends to mellow out in winter months is code for turns to mush. The taste offers sweet tart balance when fresh but becomes bland as weeks pass. The flesh breaks down so readily when cooked that it's perfect for applesauce, which tells you everything about its structural integrity. Priced around $1.66 to $2.50 per pound. Available September through May, but crisp, juicy flesh when first harvested is the key phrase. After that, quality nosedives. Best use is applesauce, butter, and cider, all applications where you're destroying the texture anyway. Macintosh exists on pure nostalgia and its flavor that works for cider blends. People, Remember it tasting better because they're remembering that one perfect bite in early fall, not the grainy disappointment it becomes by November. They're banking on you buying it in October when it's decent, not realizing you're stuck with mealy sadness by Thanksgiving. Famous for the snap of the skin because everything after that is soft disappointment wrapped in nostalgia. Number 5, Granny Smith, named after Maria Ann Smith, who discovered it in Australia in 1868. The Granny Smith has somehow become synonymous with classic apple, despite being what one reviewer called a backwards ass sour apple from upside down Australia. But here's where it gets tricky. Most people can't actually eat one without puckering. Bright green skin, extremely firm texture that borders on rock hard. The taste is aggressively tart and acidic. Lip puckering, tongue shriveling, so sour that eating lemons would be less sour. The skin is so thick and tough that reviewers warn it can slice your gums and make them bleed. It creates sticky spit and dries out your mouth. You need peanut butter or caramel just to make it edible. At $162 to $190 per pound, it's dirt cheap. Customer reviews are violently divided. Haters call it the worst apple in existence, an abomination. Fans admit you cannot eat a Granny Smith out of hand. It is a vile, wretched, horrible flavor. One food critic said, "It's not juicy, the skin is tough. It is a vile, wretched, horrible flavor." The most frustrating part, store-bought Grannies are picked way before they're ripe. Ripe ones turn yellow with red blush and are actually magnificent, but you'll never see them. Granny Smith dominates because it's produced easily and ships like a tank. It replaced better cooking apples not due to superior taste, but because it's easy to grow. They're banking on you buying it for pies where you'll dump sugar on it anyway, when your best use case requires dumping sugar on it and even your fans say it's vile. For fresh eating, you've created an apple that survives on stubbornness. The skin may be as inedible as the foil pouch that Cheez-Its come in, but at least the Cheez-Its inside taste good. Number 4, Gala. Developed in New Zealand in the 1930s, Gala recently surpassed Red Delicious as the most produced apple in America. Small to medium with orange-red striped skin, it promised to be the friendly, accessible apple for everyone. And that's exactly what it became. Accessible, friendly, and utterly unmemorable. Moderately crisp texture that's not as crisp as premium varieties. Mild sweetness with vanilla and honey notes that one reviewer called simply unmemorable. Light floral aroma. Balanced but not particularly exciting. Recent batches are increasingly described as bland. Quality seems to be declining as production scales up. At $149 per pound, it's one of the least expensive apples. Customer sentiment captures the problem. What they lack in crispness they make up for in pure flavor, but also getting Galas recently, they've been bland. Versatile for baking, snacking, ciders, but grainy when baked. The compact size makes it good for kids' lunchboxes, because kids don't know any better. The truth, it's perfectly serviceable, which is the most damning praise an apple can receive. Gala exists to be the apple that offends no one. Cheap, available year-round, mild enough that even picky eaters will tolerate it. Grocery stores love it because it moves volume without drama. It's the participation trophy of apples. This is Switzerland in fruit form, neutral, inoffensive, and completely forgettable. When perfectly serviceable is your selling point, you're not inspiring anyone to reach for seconds. If this is already saving you from a disappointing snack, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's next. Number 3, Fuji, developed in Fujisaki, Japan in the 1930s as a hybrid between Red Delicious and Virginia. Rawls Janet, Fuji was bred specifically for extreme sweetness. It became Japan's most popular apple and a top 5 variety worldwide. The problem? It's what one reviewer perfectly described as a bland sugar bomb. Sweetness with literally nothing else to offer. Large apples with firm, crisp texture that's satisfying initially but reveals its one-dimensional nature quickly. The taste is extremely sweet, the sweetest widely available variety, but lacks any complexity, tartness, or depth. Reminiscent of apple juice because that's essentially what it is. Some batches turn watery and flavorless. All sweetness, minimal acidity. Critics call it boring sweetness, neither rich nor refreshing. Priced around $2 to $2.11 per pound. Customer complaints are revealing. Bland sugar bombs. They have sweetness and nothing else. Literally nothing else. No flavor, no tang, nothing special. One brutal review called them the least attractive looking apples I've ever laid eyes on. And get this. Fuji apples you eat in Asia are much nicer than the ones you get in the West. Fuji succeeds because it targets people who want sugar and nothing else. No tartness, no complexity, just sweetness. It appeals to children and adults who dislike anything remotely tart. Here's the cynical truth. They're banking on American consumers, not realizing they're getting inferior versions compared to the Japanese originals. When critics describe your apple as appealing to people for whom white peaches and dull sugar pineapples are favorites, they're not complimenting your complexity. You're paying $2 per pound for dessert in apple form. And if you're finding this ranking useful, hit the like button. It really helps the channel cut through the noise. Number 2, Honeycrisp, developed at the University of Minnesota in the 1960s and released in 1991. Honeycrisp was engineered to have maximum juiciness through a unique cell structure that fractures perfectly when you bite into it. Named Minnesota's state fruit in 2006, this variety launched the entire premium apple revolution. Dubbed Moneycrisp because of their price, Honeycrisp changed what consumers expected from an apple. Explosive crispness with a distinctive crunch. Cells literally snap apart, creating that signature texture. Exceptionally juicy, sweet with honey notes and citrus undertones. Balanced sweet tart flavor that's complex without being overwhelming. These can be cumbersomely massive, but recent crops showed declining quality, waterlogged, less flavorful, gone downhill over the years. At $188 to $319 per pound, it's the most expensive widely available apple, and consumers are willing to pay it. Reviews range from rapturous, the most ethereal and transcendental experience, sugars emerge like fireworks, to disappointed, a bit passé, waterlogged. Production is up 17%, but cultivation is challenging, only 60% yield, compared to 85% for Cosmic Crisp. It's the parent variety to Sweet Tango, Cosmic Crisp Snapdragon. Honeycrisp exists because Minnesota engineered the answer to bland commercial apples. Maximum juice, maximum crunch, maximum flavor. It created an entirely new market for premium apples. The catch is that as production scaled up, quality control suffered. You're gambling that your $3 per pound apple is from the good batch. When an apple costs more than lunch, it better deliver, and Honeycrisp usually does, though the recent quality and consistency raises questions. This is the apple that launched 1,000 orchards and taught America that fruit doesn't have to be mediocre. Number 1, Sweet Tango, developed by the University of Minnesota and released in 2009. Sweet Tango is a cross between Honeycrisp and Z-Star. Here's what makes it special. The university owns the trademark and only licenses it to the best small farms with extremely high quality standards. Translation: you'll never have a bad Sweet Tango experience because they literally won't let bad ones reach the market. One of the crunchiest apples you'll ever have, explosive crispness that makes Honeycrisp feel like mush. Perfect sweet tart balance with spiced apple cider flavor. Notes of fall spices like cinnamon and vanilla. Vibrant acidity that wakes up your entire palate. Light, airy texture similar to Honeycrisp but firmer and denser. Complex layered flavor that strums taste buds like electricity. Not just sweet, not just tart, but a perfect harmony of both. Premium pricing around $250 to $350 per pound, but the quality justifies every cent. Customer sentiment is overwhelmingly positive. Best apple I've ever tasted, including Gala, Honeycrisp, Envy, and Fuji. Blind taste tests show 2 out of 3 people choose Sweet Tango over Honeycrisp. Limited season, late August through early December, and controlled production create scarcity but guarantee quality. Only the best small farms are invited to grow Sweet Tango. Sweet Tango exists because Minnesota didn't just want to create another good apple. They wanted to perfect what Honeycrisp started and control quality from orchard to grocery store. The selective licensing means higher prices, but also means consistent excellence. They're not banking on volume, they're banking on delivering the best eating experience every single time. It's the anti-red delicious, bred for flavor, not appearance, with quality control that actually works. When Honeycrisp had a baby with Z-Star, they didn't just make an apple, they made a statement about what's possible when you prioritize flavor over profit margins. This is lightning in apple form, autumn in a single bite, the apex predator that proves paying premium for actual quality isn't a scam. If there's one thing that this ranking should teach you, it's that paying more doesn't guarantee quality, but neither does going cheap. From the red delicious disaster bred into mediocrity for Instagram appeal to the Sweet Tango triumph that proves quality control actually matters, this ranking shows exactly what happens when you prioritize profit over flavor, and what's possible when you do the opposite. Don't trust the prettiest apple in the bin. Don't assume expensive means good or cheap means bad. And for the love of all that's crispy and delicious, Stop buying Red Delicious just because it's red and called delicious. That's the biggest lie in the produce section. The lesson? Taste before you trust and never settle for mealy mediocrity just because it's familiar. Hit subscribe if this changed how you'll choose apples, and drop a comment telling us which ranking you think we got wrong, because I guarantee the Granny Smith fans are coming for me.